Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to build trust and authority in your market so you can easily get new customers and clients. My name is Rahim with GetRCMarketing.com. I help businesses get new customers and sales using Facebook ads. Before I tell you about building trust, let me tell you a quick story. In 1963, Isidore Sharp, he's a real estate developer from Toronto. He lands in London to convince this gigantic British company called the Robert McAlpine Company to do something that they're not really interested in doing. So Sharp meets with this big company in one of their conference rooms to meet, and the representatives of the big company, they get started by saying, Mr. Sharp, we have this property we own in the center of London, and what we'd like to do is we would like to build a mid-range 300-room hotel. Is this something you're interested in? So Sharp leans forward and he says, yes, I'm very interested, except instead of building a mid-range hotel, what I'd like to do is build a 200-room hotel, but a high-end luxury hotel. So the company reps, they're not as interested. They say, listen, the luxury market in London is very crowded. It would cost a lot of money to build a luxury hotel, and even after spending all that money to build a luxury hotel, they didn't think it would be profitable. So they discussed back and forth, and ultimately the meeting ends with no deal. So Sharp leaves London empty-handed. So a few months later, Sharp gets a call from this British gentleman. His name is Gerald Glover. Glover calls him up and invites him over to London to talk about that same hotel deal. So Sharp is very excited. He decides to fly into London, but this time he had a plan. And his plan is basically make them a really good offer that they couldn't refuse. So Sharp flies over to London. He goes over to Gerald Glover's offices. You know, it's a very it's a wood-paneled 18th century offices. They meet. Glover himself he's in his late 60s. You know, he's got a crisp British accent, very well mannered, very well dressed. So they have a 2-hour lunch, and then they go into Glover's offices to talk business, and you know, the same thing comes up again. Sharp, the real estate developer from Toronto, he wants to build a luxury hotel. Glover, the lawyer for the big British company, they want to build a bigger 300-room but mid-range hotel. And so now Sharp makes his sweetheart deal. You know, he says, I am so confident about this hotel and how profitable it is going to be, that if you guys let me build a luxury hotel, a 200-room luxury hotel, I'll pay you the same rent that you would get for a 300-room mid-range hotel. So he makes this deal, and it's really good, but Glover does not accept. You know, they're very convinced that the London hotel market cannot sustain another luxury hotel, and so they decide not to do the deal. And once again, Sharp leaves London empty-handed. Some more time goes by, and Glover, the lawyer for that gigantic British company, calls Sharp again in Toronto, and he says, hey, why don't you come over to London, have lunch with me and my friends? And Sharp says, you want me to fly over just to have lunch? And Glover says, well, before we do business, I'd like for my friends to have the opportunity to meet with you. So at hearing this, you know, Sharp gets excited because of before we do business. So, and also turns out that Glover's friends are British royalty. The Duke of something is going to be there, and so Sharp flies in, and he gets picked up in London. He gets picked up from his hotel, is driven to a very private, high-end club, and over there Glover introduces him to the Duke and his representatives. They have a lunch, then they have drinks, cigar. it was apparently impolite to talk business during that time, so they didn't talk business, and instead they just kind of, like, I guess, got to know each other. And again, no deal is signed because no business is discussed. So Sharp leaves London empty-handed again. So some more time goes by, and Glover calls up Sharp and invites him over to London again. And this time he says, "Hey, why didn't you bring your wife? We'd love to meet her as well." So Sharp flies in, this time with his wife Rosalie. This time they are invited to a dinner party at Glover's home in London, and it's a very formal affair, one of those dinners that has like a bunch of forks, knives, spoons. So they hang out, they get to know each other, but again, no business is discussed, no deal happens. So he leaves London empty-handed. But this time something different does happen. Shortly thereafter, the gigantic British company, the McAlpine Company, they do sign a deal with Sharp, and they agree to build a luxury hotel, just like Sharp wanted. And they do it on that land that the British company owned. This hotel, in its first year, becomes Hotel of the Year in Europe, and it becomes one of the most profitable hotels and consistently stays that way for years. When Sharp was reflecting on that deal and how much time and effort it went he actually met with that British company on and off for 4 years before the deal was signed, and it took only 2 years to build the actual hotel. And he was reflecting back at that time, and he was, what he realized was during those trips back and forth, what was happening was trust was being built between him and that British company. And once that mutual trust was established, they were ready to do the deal. So whether we're dealing with a big deal, like a multi-million-dollar deal, or whether we're trying to sell a pencil online, the element of trust is still needed before two parties will do business. It doesn't matter what kind of deal it is. So the question is, how do you build trust and authority in the marketplace? And how do you do it without spending years trying to build it, like the way Sharp did? There's definitely an easier, faster way. And the way to do it is to create content, whether it's blog posts or videos, just like the one I'm creating right now, that is helpful and valuable to your audience and to your market. And if these videos solve certain problems for your market, they're even more. That's part one, creating content that's helpful to your market. The second step is getting this content in front of your market. So if you're selling to architects and you're creating a video that helps architects to become more productive, or to get clients faster, or to find profitable clients quickly, you want to create a video that helps them accomplish their objective. But even more important than that is you want that video to be seen by them. And there are many ways to do it. One of the best ways is to use advertising, specifically Facebook advertising. And the reason is because with Facebook ads, it is possible now for spending just a few $100s, it's possible to get your content to be placed in front of the right audience. So if you're trying to sell to architects, you can set up the ads so that these videos are then seen by architects. And once you start that advertising process, it's in a very relatively short time, within a month or two, you can start using that content to generate new sales appointments, new conversations with your market that will eventually lead to transactions that are beneficial to you and your customers. And those sales calls are not long, because you have provided so much value and trust and built trust with your market that when they're ready to close, those sales calls happen very easily and effortlessly. I hope this was helpful. Thanks.